dozens to go after inking a deal in the UK yesterday, or with the UK, I should say. The Trump tariff team is about to kick off negotiations with China. As Doug Luzader reports live from Washington this morning, the weekend talks could be critical for both economies and both countries. Good morning to you, Doug.
Good morning, Ryan. A lot at stake over the course of this weekend. The president already indicating this morning that he may be willing to give way on Chinese tariffs. It may be something of an olive branch ahead of these weekend talks.
Great for them, great for everybody.
Surrounded by cameras and the negotiating team, President Trump heralded his new trade deal with the UK, lowering barriers on both sides and ushering in what he hopes will be a new era.
This is a maxed out deal that we're going to make bigger, and we make it bigger through growth.
But with U.S. trade hanging in the balance, it didn't take long to face what comes next.
We have a very big conversation in Switzerland taking place this weekend with China. Has anyone heard of China recently?
The president making a fast pivot now to China, with talks set to start tomorrow. His Commerce Secretary says this is just an initial step.
And hopefully, we're just going to take the first step and de-escalate. The whole objective is let's just bring this down, right? Let's just try to figure out how we can trade.
The markets liked what they heard yesterday, but China remains the critical test, as consumers may start to feel the pressure.
It's the biggest tax hike on families in a half a century.
The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called the tariffs a tax hike, pushing legislation now to require retailers to show how much it's adding to prices.
If Donald Trump is going to tax the American people, they have a right to know precisely how much.
Okay, and meantime, we wait for these talks to begin in Switzerland with China. The president on social media this morning said that he may be willing to lower U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods from 145% down to 80%. That's still a very high tariff level, but it does indicate perhaps a willingness to shift some things around ahead of these talks. And meantime, Ryan, the administration this morning also says that there are about 24 trade deals that are in the works right now that they're trying to get across the finish line.
Which would be a positive thing, but go back to China for a second, Doug. Is there a timeline? Is there an ideal timeline that the Trump White House believes is a reasonable amount of a reasonable period to get a deal done with China?
I think they would love to have a favorable deal done yesterday. I mean, they're keenly concerned, as the Chinese are, about the impact that this effective trade embargo, because when you're dealing with 145% tariffs, that's really kind of what you're talking about. The impact that has on both economies will be big. And I think you can argue that it's bigger right now in China than it is in the United States, although it may be just a matter of time before this shift in trade begins to hit consumers here in the U.S. as well.
And the president was posting this idea of taxing the rich, that he would be okay with it. It seems like a very fundamental principle that Republicans have been against for the lifetime of the party. He seems to have left some wiggle room on that, though.
Some wiggle room, but this could ignite a civil war within the Republican Party. I mean, you have so many Republicans that have run on this pledge of never raising taxes. And even though you're talking about raising taxes on a very small number of individuals writ large, nevertheless, it certainly goes against the grain of modern conservative republicanism to even discuss raising taxes. But they do have a revenue problem if they want to deliver tax cuts to the broader electorate, and this is where this idea of raising taxes on the very wealthy has come into play with the president. Last
question, Doug. Is there any movement on those, on making those tax cuts permanent?
Well, that's what they want to do. You know, this is part of the president's big, beautiful bill that they want to get across the finish line here in coming weeks, really. And it is going to be tough. This is a massive piece of legislation. The tolerances are extremely tight because Republicans have to do this pretty much by themselves. They really cannot count on any Democratic support.
The great Doug Luzader for us on a Friday. It is a beautiful day here in Detroit. Doug, hopefully it's there in D.C. as well. Enjoy your weekend, my friend.
Kind of rainy here.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm sad for you then. Okay.